There we go.
Oh, there it goes. Those lights take a little bit of time. All right, everybody, let's get settled in, get seated. Welcome back to Freshman Seminar. We're here at week 3. The semester just seems to be flying, doesn't it? Couple quick announcements. I mentioned this last time, just so you all are aware. SAME ASC is still collecting spots for their New River Gorge Bridge Tour, which is going to be on Saturday, October 8th. It starts at 9 a.m. If I had to guess, I think they're leaving here a little bit earlier. So you all have the contact info for all the folks in that organization. So if you're still interested, let them know. In terms of different stuff going on with the other organizations, Theta Tau wanted me to mention they've got a tailgate on Saturday. It's going to be right outside the old engineering building, between the building and where the faculty parking lot is. So if you're interested, stop by and check that out. The next ASCE, SAME ASC chapter meeting is going to be next Tuesday in EL 101 at 5:30. And ASME is still having their meetings on Mondays at 4:30. So there's that. I've got here a typo. It should be quiz 3. We're going to have a quiz again, just like always, available later today. And it's going to close, like always, on next Friday at 11 a.m. So sound good? Okay. So real quick, just a little bit of a quick introduction for your main speaker today. We've got something a little bit different. Instead of bringing in a professional to talk about their career and what it is they do for a living, this week we've got current Marshall engineering students. And the thing about these students is that they've all been successful in obtaining co-ops or summer internships or employment experiences while they're here at Marshall. Okay, so they were in the seats that you're in right now just a few years ago, and they're still here, and they were able to successfully achieve employment while they're here. So they're going to tell you a little bit about what their job's like, what they did to get those jobs. So this is definitely advice you'll want to listen to. Okay, but before that, we're going to start to get into the pattern of having one of our engineering faculty come in and introduce themselves. So our first faculty that's going to come in and introduce themselves is Dr. Andrew Nichols, professor in civil engineering in our division. So I'm going to let him stand up and tell you all a little bit about himself. So everybody, let's give a round of applause for Dr. Nichols.
I'm Andrew Nichols. Good luck. No, you want me to do more than that? Oh, the advancer. Do we have a laser?
Yep.
So I just want to point out that in addition to the seniors that are here to present, if you don't go and see your advisor, you might end up in this room. We have some seniors who didn't follow their pattern and are still sitting in this room as students in this class, even though they're no longer freshmen. But I won't embarrass them any further than that than I already have. They know who they are. All right, so a little bit about me. I'm a faculty member in civil engineering, kind of my path to get here. I grew up 50 minutes, or depending on the time of day, you go somewhere in the range of 40 to 60 minutes in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is home of the Mothman. Any Point Pleasant, Mason County people? So we've got a few of you. So if you're interested in the Mothman, home of the Silver Bridge collapse, Dr. Michaelson, being a structures faculty, is very familiar with the bridge, maybe not so much the Mothman, but the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant is coming up in September, although I don't know what the dates. Any Point Pleasant people know what the dates of the Mothman Festival? That might be a different ASCE, SAME tour, is to go tour the TNT area where the Mothman sightings all occurred. They give hay rides, and I'm not part of the committee, so I don't get any commission off of it. If you're looking for something interesting to do on a weekend, it is interesting if you're into that sort of thing. So I went to the school up north for my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. Of course, Marshall didn't have engineering at the time, so I didn't have a whole lot of choices in state. Then went to Purdue University to study transportation engineering, traffic engineering for my master's, and Purdue University is in West Lafayette, Indiana, about midway between Indianapolis and Chicago. Before I went to Purdue, if you asked me where Purdue was, I always got it confused with Vanderbilt in Tennessee and couldn't pick out which state it was in. And then, of course, Marshall last year in the opening game of the football season beat Purdue, and I was wearing my Purdue shirt while I was tailgating, but then when I went into the game, I put my green shirt on and was certainly rooting for Marshall and was glad that we were able to pull out that victory. I stayed at Purdue and finished my PhD, and then my first teaching job was at the University of South Carolina in Columbia. I was there for 3 years, was kind of always looking to move back to West Virginia, looking for jobs at universities, and there were a few openings in the area that I applied for when I was moving back here, and Marshall fortunately made me an offer, and this is kind of where I wanted to come. New program, new buildings being constructed, and a chance to get in at something at the ground level and help build it. And so you guys are kind of benefiting. I didn't build the building, nor did I help get the money to build the new building, but you guys are obviously benefiting from that nice new complex we have now, and you're fortunate enough to spend, well, at least those of you who are freshmen, spend your entire career here. Some of you who are sitting, no, I won't make fun of you anymore. Some of you who are the seniors got to see what we had before that. So my discipline, again, within all the engineering disciplines, so I'm civil engineer, and there are 5 areas. I don't know who's already done their faculty presentation, but of course Dr. Michaelson, structures, and if you haven't already heard from them, you'll hear from our environmental, hydrology, and geotech faculty members in civil engineering. So my area is specifically transportation, and so transportation includes everything from designing highways, analyzing traffic flows, optimizing traffic signals. Transportation, the field itself is much bigger because it includes maritime, rail, air, pipeline, all modes of transportation, but really the highway is what we emphasize in the civil engineering curriculum here, and those are the courses that I teach. So since I've been here, right now I'm currently teaching Intro to CAD 102. So currently we have 102, we have the 102 for the civils and the 102 for the mechanicals, because there's 2 different software packages that are taught in each of those. I have some of you in class this semester, but if you haven't taken 102 and you're registering for it next spring, be sure to try to get in the correct section of 102 that has the applicable software you need to know. I taught engineering co-op for the first time, preparation for the first time last semester. I used to teach engineering economy, haven't done that for a while. I'm involved in senior design, but these 3 courses in the bottom, these civil engineering courses, are the main ones that I'm responsible for. So I teach surveying. So if you're walking on Wednesday or Thursday afternoon around campus and see students with the bright green vests that say Marshall University Engineering out in Buskirk Field or somewhere on campus, that's more than likely the surveying lab groups that are out measuring elevations and distances on campus. Then in the spring semester, I teach Intro to Transportation Engineering, which kind of covers the design and things that I mentioned. And then more specifically, there's a senior level design course where we cover more in-depth design. And so that course ends up being more intersection design. So the students have to go through and find intersections in town, in Huntington, that are problematic, and then they'll go out. We just went and did our site visit this week, and then they will go out. We'll pick one of those for a project, and they go out and count cars, collect data, learn how to use software to simulate how the intersection's operating, and then try to design some solution to alleviate that problem. So that's pretty much what we do in that course. And then we have a graduate program, Master of Science in Engineering, Transportation and Infrastructure major, and I have taught 2 of the traffic transportation related courses in that graduate program. So I'm involved in research, mostly with the West Virginia Department of Transportation. So those are in the areas of intelligent transportation systems. So what's an intelligent transportation system? So if you're driving on the interstates in West Virginia and you see the big message sign that usually has up-to-date information about a crash ahead, more than likely they're saying drive safely, have a nice day, or something like that, which is a good thing, which means that you should be able to drive freely without any incidents. But kind of the program to help establish those signs and having the 511, so if you call 511 while you're driving, or even the WV 511 website, which is shown here, where you can pull up and the website and see what the traffic conditions are on the roadway and pull up some of the cameras that they have installed along the roadway. I also do a lot of traffic signal timing and operations. So this is the transportation lab on the 2nd floor in WAEC. I'm sure you've walked past it and looked in, but we have some monitors in that room that helps us monitor the traffic signal systems across West Virginia and help troubleshoot any problems and things like that. I've done a project on deer vehicle collisions for the DOT, trying to look at where the hot spots are in the state and whether it makes sense financially to install some sort of mitigation. Putting high fences, 8-foot tall fences on each side of the road is one solution. If you've ever driven on US 33 from I-79 over to Elkins. That section of roadway has the 8-foot high fences along each side of the road because a deer, unless a tree knocks it down, a deer can't cross those fences, although there's openings at all the driveways and deer can still get in the roadway, but it's certainly reduced the number of crashes along that segment. And then we also do a lot with roadway data collection sensors. So a little bit about me. I play soccer at least twice a week in an adult league in Hurricane and in St. Albans. Play basketball at noon over at the rec center on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays occasionally. If anybody wants to challenge racquetball, Dr. Wajudi in computer science and myself, we both play and used to play with some students, but they all graduated and nobody has challenged us since then. I occasionally get out to golf, hunt, fish, snow ski, and enjoy beach vacations. This is a vacation in Myrtle Beach. That's my son, who's a little bit older than that now, but we had a pretty successful shark tooth week at Myrtle Beach there. I think this was 2 summers ago. So my advice to you is to take control of your academic career. Don't just float along. Like the classes that you're taking, whenever it comes advising time, go see your advisor. Make sure that they are advising you of the right classes that you need to take. Ultimately, you are responsible for your how long it takes you to get out of here. And so if you get out of sequence with a course, I mean, that could add a semester, potentially even a year, depending on what course that is. So make sure you keep up to speed and keep track of those things. Marshall has tons of tutoring opportunities and help resources from all your classes. Take advantage of those, especially calculus, chemistry, physics, the ones that you're probably already starting to struggle with, statics. We have help centers for all of those. And again, you should be meeting with that academic advisor at least once per semester. And it should go without saying, attend class and do your work. So the number one, the main students that I see dropping out of engineering, even dropping out of Marshall, are not the ones who are working their tails off to try to figure out how to do Calc 1. It's those that never even show up to class or show up to class half the time and just never put forth the effort. So try to block out all of the extra activities. Saturdays, you can use those for football games and going and cheering on the football team, but as soon as Sunday comes around, hit the books again. Video games, all that stuff, try to put it to the side and concentrate on your courses, because if you start out rough, it's going to be really hard to change gears and get back up to speed. And last of all, you've been hearing from Dr. Michaelson about all the student organization opportunities. It will benefit you to get out and get involved in those, because that's ways to meet other students that are either doing the same homework that you're already doing, or students that have already had that class and might be able to provide some assistance. So with that, I think that's all I have. If you're interested in any of the research I'm doing or just want to shoot the bull, I'm usually in my office. I'm still in the engineering lab, so I'm not in WAEC. I'm in 112 in the engineering lab. Feel free to stop by, shoot me an email, or give me a call if you have any questions. Any questions at this point?
Any questions for Dr. Nichols?
Anybody been to the Mothman Festival? So we've got a few people. Would you highly recommend it? See? Haunted house at out the TNT where they do the hayride? Or in town? Okay.
One of the churches there does an annually.
So I grew up with the Mothman, so I've never done the tour, but I've been to the festival once. Get your statue. Good?
All right, give him a round of applause. So this may be contrary to popular opinion, but I promise you the Mothman did not bring down the bridge. I could talk to you all about it. But those are stories for another day. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with our main speakers. So I've got 3 current students who are who've been successful in obtaining internships and co-ops, like I mentioned. So we're just going to continue or have these come up one at a time. So I believe our first one is Mr. Chadwick. Yeah. All right. So let's everybody give a round of applause for Mr. Blake Chadwick. And if this is any sign before he gets started, he wanted to go first because he has to go back to work. So yeah. All right, so here's that.
All
I'll
right.
go ahead and get this started.
You have a pointer for me as well?
Yep.
All right.
Just button right, and that's the later.
Gotcha. Okay, so I believe you guys already talked to my bosses there on Wednesday, was it? They came in?
Yeah, Sean and Eric.
Yep, Sean and Eric. Those are the big wigs, so you guys, I'm going to try to not cover the same things that they did. They probably talked to you guys how to apply, you USAJOBS, if you want to work for the government, this is the place to find the jobs at. Talk with Dr. Michaelson. Anybody in the engineering program should know. You know, they're pretty good about letting the Marshall staff know whenever we have hirings opening. You don't have to just work around here. You know, a lot of you guys are from out of town. I'm Huntington raised myself, so I work here at the Huntington office, but we do have offices other places and project sites. Basically, all you have to do, you get on the website, you upload a resume, and you can search for local jobs. It's that simple. Most importantly, just watch for emails. You'll get a lot of email traffic at Marshall. Anything that these guys send you, the staff, make sure you're looking at it. There's always engineering intern opportunities and co-op opportunities. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my responsibilities as an engineer. Right now I work in the GeoTech section. Mostly I do a lot of microstation drawings. I work on a lot of field response. You know, we're always big on flood response. As many of you guys know, Summersville had that bad episode. I was down there on that. We also have a soils lab we're getting set up, so we do a lot of lab testing, a lot of equipment testing, and we do a lot of field reports. So I know as an engineer, you guys don't think about English much, but trust me, it comes in handy. Have a good English background. So here's some of the projects that I worked on. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this a little bit different from what they probably showed you. We did Bluestone Dam. We do pipe inspections. So I actually work with the pipe inspection crew, and before I got there, we didn't have any equipment. And this is just one thing that was in our common interest. So they put me in charge of buying the equipment for pipe inspections. So I actually got to set up a bid for a truck, the UTV, and the cube that you see there on the back of the UTV, which has a remote-controlled robot, basically, that goes through different conduits, tow drains, things of that nature, and you actually get a survey and see the inside of the pipes so we can see where different failures are at, causing sinkholes, things like that. Some other projects you may have heard of, Yeager Airport here in Charleston. There was a major slide. Also, Racine Locks and Dam. This was over the winter, so we actually don't just go out in the summer. You're out all the time. So we're out in the winter at Racine Locks. You can see there's snow on the ground. We had sheet pile failure on the Ohio River there, where the locks were actually sliding downriver. Yeager Airport, if you guys are interested in that, you can talk to Professor Huffman. He does a lot of work on that with Triad Engineering. Summersville Dam, so this is a Fayetteville County project. A lot of you guys probably know where Summersville's at. You've probably heard about the recent flood there. To give you an idea, the outflow, the max that we actually can release there, is 15,000 cubic feet per second. We had over 300,000 cubic feet per second coming into the lake. So you can see where that rise, we got 24 hours, we had 38 feet of water entering the lake. So that was one of the flood responses that I was on. We had to go down there and monitor the lake and make sure the dam was holding up, because this is the highest pool they've had on record since they built the dam. Another project I've recently worked on was the dewatering of Greenup locks and dams. So up here in Greenup, Kentucky on the Ohio River, basically what they were doing was they were changing the gates out that allows the barges to travel up and downstream through the river. They don't do this very often, so it's kind of rare to see. Every 75 or so years, if they have an issue with the gate, they'll change them out. So we actually had to set up a contract to bring up a crane that could lift the gate, and since they were so large, it was almost, I think, $3 million just to get the crane up here from Louisiana to be able to lift the gates into place. So that was a pretty cool experience, and getting to see the lock chambers drained. Advice for you guys as new students, so these are just little things that's helped me. Specialize in something you enjoy. There's a lot of different things you can do here at Marshall. As far as civil engineering goes, it's a broad field. One of the great things about the Army Corps is you don't have to just stick in one section. Besides geotech, we have water, wastewater, environmental, hydraulics. There's several different fields you can get into. So anything that interests you, you don't have to get into any classes right now as freshmen. Just figure out what you want to do and just kind of build on it from there. Participate in events. This is really important, guys, because trust me, if you're part of ASCE, ASME, that gets you a lot more networking opportunities. You meet a lot of important people. You get opportunities for good jobs. It's really just something you want to build your portfolio and start working now. A lot of people will tell you, hold off, wait till you know what you're going to do. I started my first internship my freshman year. So I started working for the DOH my freshman summer. And since then, that's actually how I got to meet the guys at the Corps, was working on projects alongside them. Again, learn the value of networking. It's all about who you know. You got to get your foot in the door first before you can start with any company. So yes, it's important. Keep schooling first always. Work comes second. And another thing, like Dr. Nichols mentioned, you guys just show up for class. I know they probably gave you the same speech they gave me freshman year. Look to the left, look to the right. Those people probably won't be here your senior year. And a lot of that's true. All you guys got to do is show up for class. It's really not that hard if you put forth effort and actually go. And another, keep in touch with your professors. Dr. Michaelson, Dr. Huffman, the rest of the civil engineering team and mechanical as well. We have great staff here at Marshall, and they all want to help you. You're not just a number to them like a lot of colleges. They know you by name. They're willing to talk with you and work with you anytime. If you guys want to get a scholarship, or not a scholarship, sorry, internship or something similar, a co-op program, those are the guys to talk to. They always talk with the big bosses like mine. They know when jobs are coming up for bid, and they'll let you know, and they'll recommend you too. If you guys have any questions, here's my contact info. Feel free to email me. I can tell you a little bit more about what I do. If you're interested, I can show you around. We do have that opportunity at the Corps. So here's my email, and if you guys have any questions?
Any questions? All right, let's give Blake a round of applause. Thank you very much. All right. I guess next contestant, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right? Something like that? All right. So our next speaker is, let me hit that. Our next speaker is Daniel Chapman. He's not only been successful in negotiating or getting a co-op position, but he's also another student that's been heavily involved in student organizations as well, and it's obviously served him well. So he's going to tell you a little bit about his experiences so far. So everybody, let's give Mr. Chapman a round of applause. There you go.
All right, my name's Daniel Chapman. I am currently working for a company called Chemours. Oh, there it goes. All right, so Chemours is located in Bell, West Virginia, which is about 8 miles outside of Charleston. What's cool about this location is it provides overnight delivery to 2/3 of the U.S. population and 1/3 of the Canadian population. Our operations run on 723-acre site, which is situated right along the Kanawha River and has manufactured various specialty and agricultural chemicals since 1926. If you've ever came through the last toll booth into Charleston, we're located about 4 miles down the road from there, and if you look to the right across the Kanawha River, you've probably seen this big tank. DuPont's developed more than 120 chemical processes at their Bell plant, which includes technologies to manufacture nylon, the nation's first synthesis urea for fertilizers and plastics, and the nation's first commercial ammonia synthesis site. What was pretty neat is I worked for them last summer, and as of February 1st of 2015, ownership of the Bell site switched from DuPont, which has owned them since 1926, to Chemours Chemical, which became a totally separate, publicly traded company on July 1st of 2015. Currently, our headquarters are located in Wilmington, Delaware, and manufactures and sells chemicals in 3 different segments: the titanium technologies, fluoro products, and chemical solutions. We have thousands of employees and maintain 45 manufacturing laboratory sites worldwide, serving customers in over 130 countries. Here's a picture of our site. As I stated before, we have 723 acres, but our facilities are ran on 105 acres, which spans nearly a mile in length, which you can see right along the river. In addition to this, we have 618 acres that's situated north of the site across Route 60, and it's known as the mountain area. So we own this whole mountain on the other side of Route 60 here. The mountain area is set aside as a wildlife habitat area and contains 490 acres of undeveloped property. Here's a list of some of the chemicals that we produce at our plant. And here's a couple places where you can see our chemicals. We help produce plastics, home and personal care products. We do crop protection chemicals and automotive products, industrial manufacturing, and VASO, which is a polymerization initiator, which is a finalized product manufactured at the Bell plant. A couple places you might see it if you're a female would be makeup, fingernail polish and remover. We have chemicals that make aftershave, paints, plastics, vinyl fencing, and a whole lot more. A few good ways to receive an internship would be, one, to network. As Michaelson was saying, I have been very involved in a lot of our organizations around campus. I've been a member of SAME and ASCE for the past 3 years and served as the PD chair for them last semester. And what was cool with them is I've got to go on a lot of trips to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is really good for networking. You meet a lot of engineers from a lot of different schools and everything, and most of them have done internships or co-ops and can refer you to other people. I've also been active in Theta Tau and served as their president prior to this year for 1.5 years, and helped them get established as a chapter. And I've been active in ASME as of last semester and was one of the founding fathers for them. So try to get out and get with these groups and network as much as you can, because that is a really good resume builder and you meet a lot of great people that can help you out in the future. Other than that, check your emails constantly from your department chairs, because they will post different job opportunities for you, and that's actually how I received my internship, was through a email I got from Professor Salem, who set up our interviews to get our jobs, and that's how I actually got mine. Another good way is to keep in touch with your professors, because they're there to help you all. So go in with any questions you have, make regular office visits. They're really good to write people recommendation letters or help you out if you're looking for a specific place to go into. Another thing I would stress is going to Career Expo, which is put on by the Career Center, which here's the date for the 2 Career Expos they're having this semester. I've went to the Career Expos every time they had them and actually got a couple offers for jobs out of going to these internships from places like AK Still. And what's good about the Career Service is they're starting to bring more engineering firms in. They've usually have around 5 or 6 engineering firms come, and they'll tell you the names of them prior to that. So it's always good to look them up online and figure out what companies are going to be there and get a little background behind them, so when you talk to them, you stand out more than everybody else. Other than that, you can always look online and find just about anything. So here's a little bit about my co-op. I worked in the MIQA department, which is the Mechanical Integrity and Quality Assurance department, and I had 2 main focuses for my job. The first one would be to perform process hazard analysis, to look at standard operating procedures and safe work practices in order to keep workers safe. And there's 2 different kinds of this. One would be done prior to anything happening, which is the long-term case, which we would get in a room and collaborate in small groups to analyze scenarios using incident videos and case studies. Basically what we did was we would get in a group, hold a meeting, use our critical thinking skills to predict potential problems, and then we would develop plans to prevent these problems or reduce the likelihood of them happening. We would also create permits, such as hot and cold work permits, confined space entry, etc., and we would develop annual maintenance schedules based on each case, on how serious the case would be if something went wrong. The two questions we would mainly ask is, how does the change resonate throughout the system? So what problems is it going to cause further down the system if something happens? And does it need a hazard analysis? So is it serious enough that we need to go in monthly or annually, or when do we need to schedule something to go in and look at this? How serious of a problem will it cause? The other type of performance hazard analysis would be a short term, which is something that's happening that we didn't expect to happen. So we would have to react in real time as the incidents happened, and such as when critical equipment fails or inspections are added to the scenario. So that's kind of more of right in the moment. You had to come up with a solution quick, because we don't want a lot of downtime for these. Here's an example of the type of form we would fill out during these analysis. And the reason we do this analysis is because incidents like this could happen, such as the top two pictures that happened in eastern China, where an industry warehouse actually caught fire and blew up. In the left top picture, you can see their parking lot for their employees. The bottom left picture is a chemical spill for two chemicals that mixed and caused a chemical smog over a town in Spain. And the bottom right is a chemical explosion that happened in a Texas plant. The second big issue with my job was to create bill of materials using SAP for site-wide operation. This was more of hands-on work where I got to get out of the office and I got to meet with 7 different areas that were on site to tour the tanks, pumps, and motors. So I actually got to climb around on top of a lot of the tanks on site. And for the things that we could not reach or needed permits to reach, we would usually just read the plans like this one shown in the bottom right corner for a lot of the piping, relief valves, and rupture disc in the plants, which are mainly overhead. So things we would look for on these would be a tag that would have the vendor number, serial number, material, size, type of RPMs or PSI it put out, the part number, anything like that. And for a lot of this stuff, we would have to call the manufacturer or call the distributor and get a unit price to write down, or look at different quantities to put on our online website. So basically what this is doing is preventing maintenance time and making sure that whatever part comes out of the system, the exact same part goes back in, because that's very important in the chemical industry. Like cars or phones or anything else, a lot of these manufacturers will produce a part and they'll use different materials, or they'll do a different type of structure to it or something, and that'll mess your whole system up, and it could cause a major failure or a lot of people getting hurt. So basically we would get in contact with a lot of these people and make sure that what's coming out is going right back in, and making sure that we can put the different sizes and quantities of different nuts, bolts, pressure disc, anything like that. And so if something does happen, we can go straight to this form and order everything all at once and have less downtime. And that's about it. So any questions for me? No. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. We've got one final speaker. Let's see. Let me get this sort of set up. All right. Oh, come on. All right. So our last speaker is going to be a student in mechanical engineering. His name's Jonathan Hemme, and I think it's fair to say he's going to tell you a little bit about his adventure this summer. So everybody give a round of applause for Mr. Hemme.
Hey, it does work. How are you all doing? Good. My name is Jonathan Hemme. I'm a senior here in the mechanical engineering department here at Marshall University. I have, over the past few years, I haven't actually gotten to get an internship yet. I've been working with a company based out of Indiana that works with cellular, so building cell phone towers, doing repairs, basically anything that involves the cellular towers I've been working with. And it is pretty fair to say that it is not equivalent to an internship, but it's got its perks that will help me later in life as well, because just working at this company for the past couple of summers has made it to where I work for 3.5 months out of the year, and the pay pays for my tuition. So I'm getting out of school without any student loans. I may work 60 to 80 hours a week every week I'm at work, but it's good for you. It builds character. But with this company, I have gotten to do a lot of service work, so I would climb up and fix cell phone towers, and I'd get to learn how the mechanisms of the antennas work. I'd learn how the radio signals are transmitted. I actually was putting on new radios or new antennas and getting to see how all of that worked. And we work at an average of about 200, 250 feet. So I got this job by my freshman year. I really got into rock climbing here at the Marshall Rec Center, and I just really enjoyed it and started climbing a whole bunch. And after I was doing that, there was this one guy who used to work at the same company that my father did, like 10 years before my dad even worked there. And he was just calling that consulting firm, trying to have a little civil engineering question. I decided to call up the old company, and my dad was the manager at that time. Well, they got to talking, and they just mentioned, hey, do you possibly need anybody for some summer work? And the guy named Steve Roy, he actually asked me, he was like, have him send me a resume. 4 months later, I was climbing cell phone towers. And knowing people in different networking is very, very important. You could get lucky in something like this, just randomly fall in your lap, but the more you throw your name out there, the more you throw your resume out there, people pay attention to that. The better you are talking with people, it really leaves an impact. So that's something you all definitely should work on. But for this summer, right when I got there, I don't know what happened to the title of that slide, but whenever I first got back this summer, all of my certifications for climbing had been expired. They only last for about 2 years. So I had to get all of my training redone. So I've got the high altitude rescue and climber. If any of you are hanging off the side of a building, I'll be happy to help you if you need it, but hopefully not. I am a level 2 Ericsson technician. Ericsson is a company that actually develops all of the radio equipment and the antennas for Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all of these different companies. And with those I had to go to Texas to get that certification. So I was working in Indiana, and for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I had to drive from Indiana to Texas in one of the work trucks and go through a bunch of training. They actually had a 3-story facility on the inside in some big warehouse where they had a tower. I actually had to put antennas up. I had to fix them. I had to repair them and do all of that to get certified to work on all their equipment before I could go out and do service work. I also had to get some other certifications like first aid CPR, rigging knowledge certification, and probably about 15 more. I've got them all listed down somewhere else. But in this picture right here, you can see we're actually practicing a suspended rescue. So in our facility in Indiana, you have to practice rescuing somebody, and you have to be the rescuee. I'm being rescued right now. And we have the full body harnesses on. They weigh about 40, 45 pounds, and it's kind of hard to do anything in when you're kind of hanging in there, especially if you get caught on your lanyards. You're immobile. Somebody has to save you, and so in tower climbing, you don't fall. That's one of those things. It's just kind of a rule, but we practice so if somebody does, you can be rescued. Nope, other way. Now, one of the main focuses that I've been doing for the past few summers, which has gotten me to be able to travel as much as I have, is I've worked with our company's worked with another company called NEON. It's a National Ecological Observatory Network. They are actually an environmental government-funded company that is setting up to do a 30-year study of the environment. Throughout the entire country, they've put up 50 different towers now, varying from 40 to 250 feet. And what they're doing is they have all of these sensors and these different gauges and mechanisms that are actually recording wind speeds, what the gas is coming out of the grounds. You go onto these sites and they've got bands wrapped around the trees. They are trying to record all of this data coming off of everything in these naturalized habitats. And with this data, they're actually putting it on their website for anyone who wants it to have it. It's completely public information, so anyone can go onto their website and get all their readings, get all their statistics. Honestly, for the civil engineers here, you all might want to look into them to do any kind of a little environmental project. It'd be something nice to look into. And for mechanicals, they've got a whole bunch of different mechanisms and different pieces of equipment that are connected to this tower that a mechanical engineer had to design, and electrical had to work on it as well. But so I was working with these towers for the past few summers, and this summer they actually got me to go to Barrow, Alaska. So I worked in Indiana for about 2.5 weeks, and then they said, oh, well, you're certified now. Want to go to Barrow, Alaska? I didn't know where that was. Come to find out that Barrow, Alaska is the most northern point on the United States continent. So I was about 350 miles above the Arctic Circle. It was cold. I believe the warmest day was 30 degrees on average. Yeah, I mean, and there was about 10, 20 degree wind speeds. It was cold. But this is actually the site that we were working on. This boardwalk right here, it's actually kind of hard to see, but because these are environmentally friendly, naturalized places, you are only allowed to walk in a specific path. All of your equipment, everything has to go down them because everywhere else is research. If you step onto the tundra, or if you step over the guidelines you're given, you could damage something that's being recorded, and you step off the boundaries, you're fired. That's the rule. That's how NEON works. But so this one, you have to walk into the site, and you can see this is where the boardwalk starts. Over here, that little spot right there, that's the site. It was a mile, and it was like 1.2 mile walk in and out every single day, and we had to take lunch. So walked about 4 miles a day just for about 2-3 weeks. And but the tower that we were building there was only a 40-foot tower, and this was the instrumentation hut. So we were actually working on, I was doing the electrical work, running up the conduit on the side of this tower and getting it all grounded and everything up to specs. And I mean, I had some fun while I was there. I got to stand on the Arctic Ocean. That's me beside a whale skull. The town I was in, you can't get to it by roads, and it's a small whaling community. You can only fly in, and so they do a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, and they bring whales in about that big with a boat that's only about 10, 15 foot long. There's like 6 people in it. I didn't get to see that, but then several people got whales this summer, so we actually had a couple natives working with us on the crew. And this curtain right here, I just had to bring it up because when I was working in Barrow, Alaska, it was 24-hour daylight. For about 35 to 40 days, the sun is up the entire time. So that's midnight, and I'm sitting there trying to go to sleep, and the sun's just beaming into my room. So that was definitely an interesting experience. Now, once I got back from there, they had me I got back and I went on vacation for about a week and a half and went and saw some family in Minnesota. When I got right back, about 2 days later, they were like, hey, want to go to California? And I got sent to the Sierra National Forest in California working on another NEON tower. For this one, we actually, the entire project was just getting started. They're still there now working on stacking the towers. But I was doing mostly groundwork for this, so using operating machinery to dig trenches, set conduit, bring in power, and do all that stuff. And it's honestly, throughout working on this job and every other one, I've gotten a lot of hands-on experience getting to work with machinery, understanding how to read plans, how to make everything build off of itself to make a project happen. And that's honestly one of the best experiences that I think I've had through college. And actually, so like I said with networking before, now with this project right here, the head of NEON, the head guy of NEON, the CEO basically came to visit the site and check it out here whenever I was about 2 or 3 weeks before I was leaving. And I just ended up talking to him, talk to everyone, carry your resume, PDF in your pocket. But I was just talking to him, I said, I'm about to finish my mechanical engineering degree. He was like, oh, well, that's fantastic. I was like, could I maybe give you a resume? And if there's any internships going on, he said, send me an email, I'll get your resume, and I'll give it to my people who do the internship. So having the boss give your resume to the internship people is a good idea. So I've actually been in contact with him, and I'll know in the next month or so if I'm going to be able to do a mechanical engineering internship with the NEON itself, which is pretty exciting. Now, I put up this here. I'll have everyone ask questions in a moment, but I just wanted to show that you can see how far I had to travel in 3.5 months. Started in West Virginia, drove to Indiana, which is right here. Then I worked there for a few weeks, went to right up there where above the little E is where I was at in the Arctic Circle. Then I flew back, to Indiana, worked for a little bit longer, went to Texas for the training, came back, went to California. I believe I traveled almost 10,000 miles this summer. And that's kind of a lot in 3.5 months. But the experiences I got were irreplaceable. So just because you may not have an internship immediately, getting an employment that can pay for school and give you hands-on experience and even maybe learn a trade can be almost or as equally valuable as an internship. Not saying you shouldn't get one. Look for internships a lot, but keep your eyes open for other opportunities as well. Any questions? Anybody? Yes.
So the job you had over the last summer, like the last couple summers,
Yeah, since my first summer of college.
is that close to something you want to do for the rest of your life?
I actually, similar, I do have the certs to climb on wind turbines now, and I've been looking into doing wind turbine research. I'm actually doing wind turbine research with a professor here at Marshall this semester. But I've got the certs to climb on wind turbines, and if I have some research, I honestly want to get into the generators and renewable energies of that sort. So even still, I will possibly be able to apply this job to my career.
Any other questions? All right, so first off, let's go ahead and give Jonathan a round of applause. All right. We got a couple minutes, so I thought I would share with you maybe a little bit of a funny story, but also a serious point at the end. So all these students who've come in and told you about their summer experiences and summer internships, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about mine when I had one. So when I was in undergrad, I had an experience, an internship with a company out in Houston, Texas, and they did GPS positioning out in the Gulf of Mexico for oil pipelines and the oil and gas industry and things like that. So I spent about a month and a half, close to 2 months, like on oil rigs and on oil platforms and things like that. And just a real quick funny story, one of the, because Jonathan was talking about safety training, one of the safety training things I had to go through was helicopter egress training. So if a helicopter crashes in the Gulf of Mexico, you have to be able to escape. So, you know, they had this big helicopter simulator, it's about the size of an SUV, and they had it on a big crane, and they would strap us in, and they would lower the thing down. You know, the first time that they did that, you're strapped into this big cage that's sinking underwater. You know, you think you're going to die. And by the 5th time, you're like, let's go again, because it's a lot of fun. But one of the funny things they said was, you know, you complete this training. If a helicopter remains intact after crashing, you'll have a 95% chance of escaping. So we said, so what's the chances of the helicopter remaining intact? I said, oh, like 2%. So but one serious point I do want to make, you know, my internship experience was close to 10 years ago, and you know, these students are having internship experiences now. You go talk to some of our professors who've been here for a while, they probably have similar stories. The stuff they're saying held true for them, it held true for me, and it's going to hold true for you, so please take it to heart. One final piece of bookkeeping. So it seems there was a few students who didn't have a chance to sign the sign-in sheet. We had a big college-level meeting today, so our lab tech was a little late coming in. So if you haven't signed the attendance sheet, go ahead and do so. Because of that meeting, I'm not going to count anybody late today, but if you don't sign it, I'm going to still count absences. So there's one sheet left on that back table back there. If you didn't sign one, just make sure you go ahead and do so. That's all I got for you all. You all have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday.
You could have gave me the last 5 minutes. Hold on. Let me tell you the opportunities. Dr. Nichols. Dr. Nichols.